Education Over Dead channel. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment below. I am Sheena Hogue, and I'm so glad you joined. This channel is going to be a place where I give practical financial tips that anyone can understand and you can begin to implement now. As a kid, I was fascinated with how people accumulated wealth, in particular with investments. I come from humble beginnings, so I didn't see a lot of wealth growing up. I saw people doing what they needed to do to make ends meet. I didn't see access to a lot of financial resources or people leaving family members' monies if someone were to die. I know we have this saying in our community, you can't take it with you, so you might as well spend it while you're alive. But with everything that's going on in our country, honestly, I don't think we can keep doing that. I think that we should leave our next generation in a better position financially. If you look at the amount of student loan debt that African Americans have compared to our counterparts, it's significantly higher. And in most cases, it's not a great rate of return. And I mean in regards to the salaries that we make and how long it takes to pay it off. If you look at how hard it is to get a business loan compared to others, business loans that will ultimately help with employment opportunities and providing the tools and resources needed to aid and assist in our communities. It's alarming. Or take home ownership, for example. How hard is it for you to save up for a down payment so that you can have a stable home for your kids to grow up in, or as a young adult, have a stable residence so that you could possibly sell it and get a profit so when you do start your family, you can start on the up and up. It takes us a lot longer to do these things, and I think the reason is because we are starting from scratch. I hope that this is a place where we can begin to change that narrative. My mom taught me all there was to know about money management. She taught me the importance of paying my bills on time, not having a lot of debt. She told me I didn't need to have a credit card if I didn't have a job. She didn't explain to me what credit meant. But for her, it was important that as we got older, we would be able to get things. It was in high school where I first learned about an IRA account. When I learned about this, I came home, told my mom, I was all excited, telling her that she should start saving in an IRA account. But because of my age and because of her fear of investments, she said no. But who knew that that would be a glimpse of what I would do in my career? Working in the financial industry for years, majority as a financial advisor, I've been able to help people plan for retirement with investments like annuities, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, and life insurance products. I've been able to see what wealthy people do that's a little bit different than people living paycheck to paycheck. Initially, I thought it was all about how much you made. I thought it was about their salaries. I thought that the people with the highest salaries would have the most in assets. But to my surprise, that was not the case. Oftentimes, it was people that made half their salaries that had more in assets. That's why I learned that it's not about how much you make, it's really about how much you're able to keep. That's how you establish wealth. Now on this channel, I'm going to share some topics with you that you may not be aware of, some topics that you may be familiar with. But my hope is that you will continue on for the journey. I hope that when you leave here, you will know what your next step is, meaning what questions you should ask, what areas you should begin to research, and ultimately what plans you should create to change or improve your financial situation. Education Over Debt is a place where we inspire a new perspective to achieve financial freedom, to leave a legacy that's better for us all. Today, we're going to talk about savings. Savings is any time you set money aside to be used at a later date. Some people may call this your emergency fund, your rainy day fund, your opportunity fund. Some people say you need to save $1,000 or 3, 6, 9 months of your monthly expenses or your monthly income. All that is good, and we'll talk about setting financial goals in another episode. But today, I really just want to talk about getting started, okay? Getting started. I found that in most cases, when we talk about savings, it's really hard for people to start. Everybody is not like goal-oriented. So some people you can say, hey, save $1,000, and they will get on it and they will set that goal and they will save $1,000. But not everybody is that goal-oriented. Some people, they come up with plans for days. So you say save $1,000 and they try to come up with 10 ways to save $1,000. And at the end of the day, they have done nothing. But why? Because they've overanalyzed and obsessed about this plan to save, and then they don't do nothing. And the reality is you can't control everything. So it doesn't matter all your planning and everything like that, at the end of the day, there's still some things that may still happen that's unexpected. You can't control everything. I'm not saying not to plan, but just put it into perspective. Okay, put it into perspective. You're not gonna be able to plan every little thing. Something unexpected may still happen, and that's okay. All right, you don't have to get mad, because in some cases, when unexpected things happen and people are all mad, they never want to do it again, all this, all because their plan didn't work out to the T. But I want to encourage you to get started. Another group of people, they always feel like they need something else. So you say, okay, save $1,000. And every time you talk to them, it's like, oh, well, I need this, or when I get this, or when this happened, when she brings me this. And it's always a cycle of something else they need before they can start doing something. It's always this perpetual cycle, like all these, reasons for why they can't get something done. And then I have another group of people, because I work with people in different areas, and they're like my faith group, and they always have, they need to talk, they need to pray about it. That's their saying, well, I need to pray about it. And what I've come to realize is that although you may need to pray about some things, the reality is, in my experience, it seems like God answers prayers that they really want. Like, let's say, for instance, they want to get a new car. They pray about that and God just comes through with the answer. It's like immediately, he says you need to get this car, and they talk about how they deserve this new car and what they're going to do with this new car, and they, all this stuff. But then if it comes to saving, then they need to, do a 30-day, it's a 30-day fast, or they need to wait on God to give them an answer. It's going to take 30 days, 6 months. God still haven't answered them about, saving $10. It's always like this whole, in my experience, it seems like God answers the things that they really want, but it's something that they're having a challenge with, or they really don't want to do, then now it takes God forever to come through with the answer. And I always try to challenge them and ask them, is it God or is it you? Like, just be real with yourself. If this is something that you don't want to do, just say, hey, I don't want to do this. It's a challenge for me, and just acknowledge it. And then you can begin to actually develop a plan, because I don't think it always takes, such a long time to hear from God. I mean, especially when you're trying to do something that's going to be beneficial for you. I mean, if you try to look at taking out debt versus saving, I'm sure you can find way more scriptures about how you shouldn't have a lot of debt than you can about why you should start saving. So I just want to get it out there, because I know a lot of time people have all these different excuses, and maybe you fall into one of those categories, and maybe this will be the video that you see that will actually challenge you to get unstuck. Stop making excuses about what all these plans you need to do, or all these people you need to wait on before you can get started doing something. Just do it now. Okay, there is no excuse. Get started today. And that's what we're going to talk about. So the type of savings accounts you have an online savings account. This is my personal favorite. Online savings account, the reason why I like these is because they usually tend to have higher interest rates. They usually have no minimums, meaning you don't have to keep a minimum amount of money in these type of accounts for you to have them. And then last but not least, if you're not used to saving, and you know that, as soon as you get $20, you're going to find a reason to spend $10. Online savings account, if it's not set up with the accounts that you have for your checking account, usually it takes 2 to 3 days before the money can transfer from your savings account to your checking account. And so this allows you to set a personal boundary. Like, this is protecting you from you. If like, anytime you try to save money, let's say it's $50, it's some reason, something's going to come up where you need to spend $30. Your car breakdown, and you need new tires, and you forgot to pack lunch this week, so you need to stop by Chick-fil-A to get something to eat before you came home because you forgot to pack your lunches for the week. It's always going to be something. If that's you, then I would say do an online savings account, because it helps create that boundary for yourself. So it helps protect you from you going in there, pulling that money out all the time, and then looking up and see that you don't have anything. A good place to research for online bank accounts is bankrate.com. On bankrate.com, you can go in there to look for the online savings account, and it will give you a list of the savings account with the highest interest rates. It usually has a little blurb about the pros and cons of each. So therefore, it allows you to kind of determine which one would be good for you, and then you can go and do more research if you actually look into that bank. So I always tell you to do your research, of course, and one place to research for online savings account that I found useful is bankrate.com. So that's a place where you can go look, research, and then go to the bank and actually do some more research and ask some more questions and whatever to make sure that you have the best account for you, whatever works best for you. The next type of savings account that people usually use are credit unions. And credit unions are good because they usually have higher interest rates than your traditional banks. But sometimes you have to be, or you have to meet certain criteria to have credit unions. So maybe you have to be a teacher, or maybe you had to serve in the military or something, or maybe you had to stay in a certain area, like a certain city or something like that to get the credit unions. Credit unions are another place where you can get, where you can start your savings. And then last but not least, you have your traditional banks. So your big banks like JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, US Bank, those big banks, you can always go there to save. But when saving in a big bank, usually your interest rates are a little bit lower because of the brick and mortar. They have way more expenses, so therefore your interest rate would be lower that they offer you. They usually ask for minimums, like you have to have a minimum of $200 or $300, or else they charge you fees, or else they may close your savings account. So those are some questions that you want to ask if you decide to go with your traditional bank. Also, it's usually more accessible for your traditional bank. So if you, for instance, have, a savings account with a traditional bank, usually it's easier for you to go and pull the money out. And if you know that you have a problem with actually saving money because you find a reason to pull the money out, you might not want to use a traditional bank as your first option. You may need to try to establish the discipline first and then go to the traditional bank. But you know yourself, so just be honest with yourself, assess what will work best for you, and then determine how you want to do it. So we talked about the different type of accounts. We talked about the online savings account, the credit unions, and the banks. Next, I want to talk to you about how to actually do it. Yes, how to actually do this. How can you do this today? Because I want you all to leave this video knowing things and ways that you can start today. You don't need to make no more excuses. You don't need to make no more plans. You don't need to pray about it. This is something that you can do right now, and or at least begin to look into it right now. Okay, so how do you get this started? The easiest way that I see for people to do this is, if you get direct deposit at work, is to set it up that way. So just like when you start working for a company and you get your direct deposit and you set up your checking account for the money to come to you when you get paid, you could go to that same place and set up a savings account. Most companies will let you have at least 3 accounts that you can send money to when you get paid. And you can say how much money you want to go. And in most cases, it'll go to your savings account first, and then it'll send the rest to your checking account. So you just go in there, you go to your HR portal, click on pay, go to the top, click the plus sign that says add an account, and then you go in there and you add a savings account. Okay, so when you get paid on your pay stub, it'll say the monies that went to your checking account, and it'll say the monies that went to your savings account. And that's a great way to save, and really like a great way to protect yourself from yourself again, because you don't see the money leaving. Like after the first paycheck, where you may, remember that you set the money aside, after that paycheck, you may forget that you have set that money aside. And a good thing about it too is you can always start, stop, increase, or decrease at your leisure. So let's say you go on and you set to save $500, and you realize after that first paycheck that $500 is too high. So then you can just go back in there and just reduce it back down to like $300 or something. But the thing is to just start. Okay, it's an easy way to get started, and it automatically does it for you. Like as soon as you get paid, the company will automatically send the money, so you don't have to manually do anything. Once you set it up, it's good. Another way though, for those who may not have direct deposit, is you can also, in your checking account, you can set up a savings account and then have that money automatically pulled from your checking account on a certain day. So this is just like bill pay. You know how you set up your bill pay to pay, BGE or whoever your gas company or utilities are, or your cable company, on a certain day, like the 20th of the month or the 15th of the month, you set it up for your payments to come out. Same thing, you'll be setting up for your payments to come out to go to your savings account. So let's say the 20th of the month, you set it up with your savings account that they will automatically pull from your checking account. So again, that could be $50, $100, or what have you. But let's say on the 20th of the month, you're going to set it up so that you automatically see the money pull. Okay, so that way you don't have to go back in and manually do it every day or every month. It's already set up and it'll continuously happen for you. And then third, another way to start savings, if you are maybe more the entrepreneur who may not have a consistent income or something like that, then you can start saving by just manually moving money to your savings account. And this is the way that I don't like as much, especially if you have a hard time with savings, because usually something comes up and you can find a reason why you can't save money. You know, you need new tires, you need to get your car fixed, you know, something just is always coming up. And then, you know, next thing you know, you haven't saved anything because something always comes up. Or it's when I get this money, when I get that money, then I'll save. And, you know, it never happens. So this is my least favorite method to try to save. But if you don't have a consistent income, you don't have direct deposit, then I would say try to set aside some money by manually just going in and moving money to your savings account. And if you are an entrepreneur, I would say maybe look into setting some percentages for yourself. Like maybe you save 10%, you save 15%. And I know that can be hard at first because you don't have a consistent income and you may need to live off that money, but try to find something. Maybe, you know, $50 or something. Try to find something and say, hey, each time I get a contract, I'm going to set aside $50 just for savings. Okay, just for savings. And then you can go through and you can also later on determine how much you want to set aside to invest back into your company so that you can have monies, you know, built up so that if you need to go get more expenses, whatever they may be, you got an area just designated for you to invest back into your company that's outside of your savings account savings account may deal more so with your lifestyle or something that you need, like, you know, important outside of your business. So those are the ways that you can start saving. So again, you want to look into your online savings account, you want to look into your credit unions, and you want to look into your traditional banks. Make sure you ask those questions. What is the interest rate? What are the monthly minimums? Are there any minimums? Like, do you have to keep $300 in this account to keep it going? And then think about your accessibility options as well. You know, how easily can I get this money if I need it? How long will it take? Those are some questions. Oh, are there any limits on how many times you can take money out per month? Because most savings account, it may be like you can only take monies out like 6 times per month or something like that. So you also want to look into how many times you can take the money out. And then last but not least, you want to get started today. So if you get direct deposit, go on there now, go to your HR portal and click on pay, add another account, and go ahead and add your savings account on there so that when you get paid, some money automatically goes to your savings account. You don't have to do it. You don't have to, you know, wait to try to do it. It'll automatically go when you get paid. Or if you want to set it up so it automatically drafts from your checking account on a certain day, that's also an option. And then last but not least, you can always do it manually. So I hope that you guys have learned how you can begin to save today, because the goal is that you put yourself in a better situation so that you can have financial peace or have a sense of financial peace later on. We're going to talk about setting financial goals, but for now, I just want you to get in the habit of actually doing it now. No more excuses. Something you can do right now. It takes 5 minutes. You know, go ahead and get it set up, and this will help you develop the discipline to start savings. And then later on, we'll talk about what goals you should set as you begin to do this. I hope that you had a great time looking at that short video on how to save, and you will begin to save today. Listen, I know there are a lot of things going on right now, but you have to make yourself a priority. Just like you make those bills a priority, make yourself a priority and save for yourself, save for your future. You deserve it, and you owe it to yourself, okay? Life isn't meant to just go through and be paying bills all the time. You know, there's other things you can do with your money, and one way you can start doing it is by setting aside some monies to save. Please make sure that you like, share, subscribe. Thank you again for watching this podcast. I look forward to seeing you again.